Calvary Cemetery of the Sisters of Providence in Holyoke, Massachusetts. It's in the Brightside neighborhood. It's on the land owned by the Sisters of Providence. And they have a big cemetery in here for all the burials of all the nuns that served their order through the many years. And this is an order that was based inside of Holyoke. And when they came to Holyoke in 1873, they weren't that way. They were based in Kingston, Ontario. But they petitioned to the bishop and then to the Pope to make a new order based in Holyoke, and that succeeded. So you need your own mother house, and they were nuns that served the ill, so they built a hospital and orphanages and old age homes for men and women. And it says, "Come, blessed of my Father, take possession of the kingdom prepared for you from the foundations of the world." And on the other gate, it says Sisters of Providence, and it has another very beautiful quote. So we're going to visit the inside of this cemetery. Okay, and I'm going to point out the various features. We just went through the gates. In front of us is a statue of Jesus himself, and he's blessing all the burials inside this cemetery. Now, we'll point out the different areas. One of our stops will be here, but in that far corner, the children that were never baptized that had been born in the Providence Hospital, which is very close by, but were very ill and did not survive, are buried there. It's outside the holy grounds of this cemetery, but they're in very beautiful places, and we'll see their stones. Then they have a lot of open space, but if you look towards this direction, you see a chapel in the background. It's an open-air chapel, but it still serves a purpose that they'll have the burial last service back there, then bury them. The most modern part is towards the front, and you can see all the stones are the same except one. And if you look at the stones, they always say something to the order of Sister Cecilia McGrath, died January 23rd, year 2017, in religion, 68 years. So she probably lived 18 plus 68 years. That's a lot of years, and most of these nuns were very, very old. You see it's very filled up, but this is the 150th anniversary of the Sisters of Providence coming to Holyoke. And so in 150 years, that's a lot of nuns. And I said there's one stone that's not like the others, and we're going to go visit that stone. Okay, so we're going to pause it and walk to the back. Okay, now I told you there's one stone that's not like the others, and that's for a good reason. And that reason is that the Sisters of Providence, when they came from Ontario, were led from Ontario. But one of the nuns that came about 3 years after they came in, so about 1876, was a nun whose name was Mary of Providence, Sister Mary of Providence. And she started up many of the institutions. So she started up the girls' orphanage. She started up the boys' orphanage and stayed at the boys' orphanage for a very long time. She started up the infant orphanage. She did many, many things. Her first job in Holyoke was to serve on Hampden Street at the old St. Jerome's School. So she did many jobs, and she also started up the order in Holyoke. That became an independent order from any other order. So she's the mother of all the institution and of the whole entire order. So she's very beloved, and for that reason she got a different stone compared to all the other ones. Her cross is large above it, and I'll read the face of it. It says, "In living memory of Mother Mary of Providence, Horan, First Mother General in the Diocesan Congregation of the Sisters of Providence of Holyoke, in religion 73 years." The back of it has her death date, and I'll go out and read it now. Okay, the message on the back says a lot about what you see in the front, repeated again, but it also gives her birth year as being 1850. I know she was born in Ontario. And it gives her death day as to be in 1943 in January of that year. She made it to 92 years old, and she was in the order 73 years. So she was in the order from 18 years old for 73 years after that. She was the Mother General, the head of the whole order, for much of that time, I believe for about 30 years. You can see the stones around her, mostly the same. The ones toward the front are a little different from the ones way, way back. And there's a good reason, because those are the oldest burials of all. And I'll interpret one towards the front. You see in the front here, there's Sister Mary Felicitas Fanelli, and died August 19th, 1978, in religion, 75 years. So she was about 93 years old when she died. The M stands for Mary, because they're almost always going to take the name Mary. Felicitas is not her real name, but an assumed name, and Fanelli would be her real last name. You'd have to read her obituary to figure out her real first name, but it ended with Fanelli. And all the nuns have pretty much the same. Now, in the very, very back, there are 3 nuns who were not originally buried in the cemetery. How is that possible? Well, you got to remember, this cemetery was not made right away. This cemetery was made when the order took on its own independent order from many others. And so the nuns came in 1873. It didn't become independent until the year 1886, I believe. And so that's when this cemetery is from. The cemetery is about 140 years old. And within that span of years, from 73 to 86, 3 of the nuns had died. And they were buried in St. Jerome's Cemetery in Holyoke. And when this cemetery was started up, they took the bodies in the stones and they brought them to this location so they could be buried with the whole congregation itself. It's a very beautiful cemetery. In the distance, you can hear water. And the reason that's important, because that's a Tannery Brook. This is the birthplace of Holyoke itself. When Holyoke was part of West Springfield, and then before that part of Springfield, a man in about late 1690s bought some land that was just over the border into this precinct, and he had the name John Riley. They thought he was Irish. He probably wasn't Irish, probably British, but it became Ireland Parish. And his home was probably within 100 yards of where we are now. I don't know where exactly. And that brook became Riley Brook. Riley Brook became a tributary much later, an upper tributary of the Tannery Brook. So it's now called Tannery Brook, but it was called Riley Brook. So this area is a whole birthplace of not only the nuns, but also much before that, of Holyoke itself, an Ireland Parish. Well, thank you for coming on this stop.